Welcome dear students for another segment of the mathematics class of grade 9 of St. Peter's College, Colombo 4, Negombo branch. Today our lesson is going to be a very easy lesson which is considered as direct proportions. At the very beginning of the lesson, let's try to understand what is the meaning of this word direct proportions. Okay, let's take like this. Now, if you consider, now you are in grade 9, you have about 13 subjects to study. So for 13 subjects, you have an amount of lessons to be studied. But when you will be moving from grade 9 to grade 10, the number of subjects will decrease. When the number of subjects will decrease, that content to study will also decrease in a certain way, right? When the number of subjects will decrease, the amount you have to study will also decrease in a certain way. That means when one quantity is decreasing, the other quantity also decreases. Let's take an example like this. You're going to a shop and you're going to buy a packet of maybe a packet of rice, right? So let's take 1 kg of rice is going to be rupees. Let's take 500. Okay, I don't think you'll get 1 kg to 500, but anyway, let's take 500. Then 2 kg, definitely it has to be 1000, right? If you're going to buy 3 kg, it has to be rupees 1500. So while the number of kilograms are increasing from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, right? When the amount of kilos are increasing, the amount you have to pay for that will also keep on increasing. Again, when the amount of rice that you are going to buy is increasing in kilograms, the amount you have to pay is also increasing. That means when one quantity is increasing, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, okay, the other quantity is also increasing simultaneously. 500 to 1000, 1000 to 1500. If you're buying another kg, that is 4 kg, it will become 2000, right? So when this quantity is increasing, the other quantity is also increasing. So very simply, in the first example about the subjects, when the number of subjects were decreasing, the amount you have to study were also decreasing. Here, when the number of kilos are increasing, the amount you have to pay for them is also increasing, which means when one quantity is increasing, the other quantity will also increase. Or when one quantity is decreasing, the other quantity will also decrease. That is called as direct proportions. That is the meaning of direct proportions. When one quantity will be increasing, simultaneously the other quantity will also rise. When one quantity will be decreasing, simultaneously the other quantity will also decrease. That is what you call as direct proportions, right? See, when the value of one quantity increases, when the value of one quantity increases, if the value of the other quantity also increase, the value of the other quantity also increase, or when the value of one quantity decreases, the value of the other quantity also decreases. The two quantities are said to be in direct proportion. When one quantity is increasing, the other quantity will also increase, or when one quantity is decreasing, the other quantity will also decrease. So look at the examples. Number of subjects and content to study. I told you that. The number of books and the price. If one book is 50, 2 books are going to be 100. 3 books are going to be 150. So with the amount, the other parts will be also increasing. Then the length of a side of a square and its perimeter. You know, if you take a square with 4 as the length, perimeter will be 16 and area will also be 16. I'm not going to use the units, okay? If I take a square with 8 centimeter as the length, the perimeter will be 4 times 8, that is 32 centimeter. 32, no centimeters here. I don't know whether it is centimeters or not, because I have not given you any unit. So the area will be 64, whatever the unit it is, right? So see, When one quantity is rising, when the lengths were increasing, the perimeters have also increased, and also the areas have also increased. See, when it was 4, perimeter was 60. When it is 8, perimeter is 32. When it was 4, area was 16. When it is 8, area is 64. So that means, see, the length of a side of a square and its perimeter, the length of a side of a square and its area, the number of units of electricity consumed by a household, and the monthly bill. If you are using more electricity consumption units, when the number of units will increase, the monthly bill you have to pay will also increase, right? Or if you reduce the amount of electricity units that you are going to use, your monthly bill will also decrease. So see, when one quantity is increasing, the other will also increase, or when one quantity is decreasing, the other quantity will also decrease. So this is the general concept of a direct proportion. Then there are 3 methods to be discussed in solving questions related to direct proportions. Yes, we are using 3. You can use 3 methods to find the value related to questions under direct proportions. That is, one is the unitary method. I'll just explain you in general, because I'll be explaining how these methods are being used in the other questions that I'm going to do, in the other examples I'll be doing. Unitary method is basically you find the value for 1 unit, then you find the value for the entire part. Definition method we also call as the ratio method. We are going to use 2 equal ratios to get the answer. Algebraic method is one of the best methods that you can use, because you don't have to use a lot of steps. You can just get the answer. You won't take time to get an answer, right? The algebraic method is one of the best methods. We will learn it while moving forward. But look at this point I have told you. But these questions should be learned to be solved practically rather than sticking to a particular method. That is, without using a particular method, it is easy if you learn to solve these questions very practically, because the questions you get under direct proportions are very practical. Like if they ask you the price of 1 pen is 10 rupees, to find the price of 10 pens, you don't have to use any method, right? So that is why in these questions should be learned to solve practically, because you will get questions from speed, you will get the questions from maybe about masses and lengths. So you have to understand in that order. So do not use methods all the time. Try to use a very practical perception to answer the question. But in case if you are asked to use, you can use any of the methods. Now I'm going to explain all the 3 on the 2 questions. Example number 1. So if a person walking at a constant speed takes 5 minutes to walk 800 meters. 5 minutes to walk 800 meters. Calculate the distance he walks in 12 minutes. Okay, so 12 minutes, how much? It's better to write this part at the very beginning of the question. At the very beginning of the question, it is better to write this part, because then it is easy for us to approach the question. So I'm going to use the 3 methods separately to explain you how we are going to do. So first, I'm going to use the unitary method. Unitary method. On the unitary method, you need to find the value for 1. So for 5 minutes, if you are going to travel 800 meters, I'm going to find for 1 minute, right? I'm going to find for 1 minute how many meters will you travel. That is 800 divided by 5. So that is going to be 160 meters for 1 minute. How much? That is unitary for 1 minute, for 1 unit. Therefore, I am asked to find for 12 minutes. So for 12 minutes, I have to multiply 160 by 12. Then I will get the answer 1920 meters. That is an easy method. Under unitary method, what you have to do is, for 5 minutes I am going to travel 800 meters. Then now I am going to check for 1 minute what is the distance I am going to travel. So for 5 minutes, if it is 800 meters, for 1 minute it is going to be 800 divided by 5, that is 160 meters. That is for 1 minute. Therefore, for 12 minutes, I'm going to take 12 multiplied by 160. That is going to be 1920 meters in total for all the 12 minutes. That is the unitary method. Then I'm going to teach you the definition method. Right? On the definition method, we are going to use two ratios, equal ratios. We are going to take this side, that is the time side, as a particular ratio, that is 5:12 equals, for 5 minutes I am going to travel 800 meters, but for 12 minutes I don't know what is the distance I am going to travel. Okay, for 5 minutes I am going to travel 800 meters, but for 12 minutes I don't know what is the distance I am going to travel. So what I have done, the minute side or the time side I have taken as one ratio, the length side I have taken as another ratio, and I have equal the two ratios. But when you are writing the ratios, be careful. You have to know, now if it is 5 minutes, I have written first. From this side, the length for 5 minutes should be written first. Second, I have written 12 minutes here. So for 12 minutes, how much? That order cannot be changed. If you change the order, your answer will be different. It's wrong. So now I'm going to do what? I have to check how can 5 become 800? How 5 became 800? It was multiplied by 160. You can divide 800 by 5 and see. Okay. How 5 became 800? 5 got multiplied by 160. So then if 5 gets multiplied by 160 to bring it to 800, then 12 will also multiply by 160 to get the answer for the value of x. Therefore, x is going to be equal to 12 multiplied by 160. Again, you will get the answer 1920 meters. Again, I am explaining the definition method or the ratio method. In definition method, what we are doing is the time side we are going to write as one ratio equals the length side we are going to write as another ratio. Okay, so the times 5:12, so I wrote it in this order. Then when I'm writing the order for the distances, you have to see for 5 minutes how much, for 12 minutes how much. So for 5 minutes it is 800, for 12 minutes we don't know, we are going to find that. Now check how 5 became 800. 5 got multiplied by 160 to get into 800. Therefore, 12 will also multiply by 160 to get the value of x. Then see, x will be equal to 12 into 160, that is 1920. See, in whatever the method you are going to use, you will probably get the same answer, right? Let's take the other method. The third one, by algebraic method. Algebraic method is short and easy, right? Algebraic method is short and easy, but you have to look carefully. Now, for 5 minutes, if it is 800 meters, right? For 5 minutes, if it is 800 meters, therefore, for 12 minutes, how much? Right? For 5 minutes, if it is 800 meters, for 5 minutes, if it is 800 meters, for 12 minutes, how much? So that is going to be 160 to 12, 1920. It's going to be again 1920 meters. Same answer you will get in all the three methods, right? In all the three methods, you will get the same value, that is going to be 1920. So in unitary method, first find for 1 minute. For 5 minutes, if it is 800 meters, first find the value for 1 minute, how much? From that, you can find, they have asked you to find the value of 12 minutes. So for 12 minutes, how much? That is using the unitary method. If you are using the definition method in the question, you have to write two equal ratios. The time, see, units should be same when you are applying to ratios. So this is 1 unit, the time unit. So the time unit I have written in this order, 5:12. then the other side also have to write as a ratio. When I'm writing as a ratio, I have to check for the first time what is the length, then for the second time what is the length. So for 5 minutes if it is 800, for 12 minutes I don't know, so I have taken the value as x. So now I have to see how 5 became 800. 5 became 800 multiplying by 160, then check how 12 will become x. So 5 becomes 800 multiplying by 160, therefore 12 should also be multiplied by 160, then x value you will get as 1920, the same answer you will obtain. In the algebraic method, you have to check for 5 minutes if it is 800 meters, then for 12 minutes how much. Okay, right. Let's move on to the next question. We are going to move to the next part. Example number 2. If the mass of 10 identical balls, used in a cricket match is 3 kg, so we are going to write that part, right? 10 identical balls, the mass is going to be 3 kg. What is the mass of 3 such balls? Therefore, for 3 balls, what is the mass? You can just take the answer. But since I have to explain you the methods, I am going to use the 3 methods again. You don't have to use any method, you can just think and say the answer. But we'll see how we are going to apply the 3 methods for this. Right? I'm going to see how to apply. First, I'm going to apply the unitary method. So when I'm applying the unitary method, I have to use for 10 balls, it is going to be 3 kg. Therefore, for 1 ball, it is going to be 3 divided by 10. That is going to be 0.3 kg for 1 ball. Therefore, you have to find the value for 3 balls. 0.3 is for 1 ball, multiply that by 3 for 3 balls, then you will get 0.9 kg. This is one method of getting the answer, the unitary method. For 10 balls, if it is 3 kilograms, then for 1 ball, how much? 3 should be divided by 10, you will get the answer. Then that value is for 1 ball, you have to check for 3 balls how much. So 1 ball into 3 value, then you will get 0.9 kg. Next, using the definition method, I told you, take this side and write as a ratio. So 10 is to 3 equals, for 10 it is 3 kg. For this we don't know the value. Now here there's a small issue. The issue is that 10 cannot be multiplied or divided to bring it to 3. Even if you multiply 10 by any number or if you divide 10 by any number, you cannot bring 10 to 3. So in this method, you can use a longer one. I'm going to explain that as well, because in some questions, you will need the longer steps. For that, convert both the ratios into fractions. How to convert ratios into fractions? In the ratio, the first number will go up, second number will go down. Equals, from this side, the first number will go up, the second number will go down, always. In a ratio, when you're converting a ratio to a fraction, always from the ratio, the first number will go up, second number will come down, first number will go up, second number will come down, then you can cross multiply. You can cross multiply, then when you cross multiply, you will get 3 times 3, you will get as 9, 10 times x, you will get as 10x, 10 times x, 3 times 3. Now you can divide both the sides by 10, then 10 will cancel, then x will be equal to 0.9 kg. Still you will get the same answer. Here, why didn't we use the smaller method or the shorter method is because you can't convert 10 into 3. You can't multiply 10 by any number or divide 10 by any number to bring it to 3. So now I have to use the longer method to find which relationship it happened, how 10 became 3. So for that, what I have to do is I have to convert the two ratios into two fractions. How to convert ratios into fractions? Take the first number, it will go up, second number will go down. From this side, first number will stay up, second number will go down. Now you have to cross multiply, so x will multiply by 10, that becomes 10x, 3 will multiply by 3, that is going to be 9. Then 10 will cancel because you have to divide both the sides by 10. So 10 will cancel, x will be equal to 0.9 kg. That is the second method, the definition of the ratio method. Third method is going to be the algebraic method. So for that you can use it. If for 10 balls, if it is 3 kilograms, then for 3 balls, how much? Right? For 10 balls, if it is 3 kilograms, then for 3 balls, how much? That is also going to be 9 over 10, which is going to be 0.9 kg. Okay? So if you check from this again, from using any step, you will be able to receive the same answer. But you have to select which method is easier for you. This is a bit important. Why I say important is because sometimes without giving you the method you have to use, they give you this. Using the definition to solve the question. If they say using the definition to solve the question, you should use this order or else it is wrong. They won't give you marks. But if you just give the question like this and they ask you the answer, you can use any method and find, or you can use the knowledge practically and give the answer. So again, the mass of 10 balls is 3 kg. Then you're asked to find the mass of 3 such balls. So I have used the unitary method. In the unitary method, I have found the value for 1 ball and taken for 3. In the definition method, I have taken the two values into ratios. The problem is I can't get a direct relationship. So I have taken two fractions. Then the two fractions has been cross multiplied. Then x will multiply by 10, that becomes 10x. Then 3 will multiply by 3, that becomes 9. So divide both the sides by 10, 10 will cancel. 9 over 10 will become 0.9 kg. So the same answer you will obtain. Even from the third method, that is the algebraic method, I am going to use this to get the answer. So for 10 balls, if it is 3 kg, for 10 balls, if it is 3 kg, for 3 balls, how much? So then 3 times 3 is 9, 9 divided by 10 will become 0.9 kg. Okay, so just like the previous question, this is also the same thing, same 3 methods, you will get the same answer. Right. Moving to the next one, or probably the next part. So that is the 3 methods you have to remember: the unitary method, the definition method, or the algebraic method. For the exam, you can use any method you like. Okay, so our topic, the next topic on this lesson part is actually about foreign currency. I think you know about foreign currencies because you know in different countries we follow different currency procedures. Say every country does not hold the same value for all the currencies. For example, in Sri Lanka we have rupees. For European countries they generally use euros or pounds. In America they use the US dollars. Likewise, in different countries you are using different currencies and they have different values compared to the Sri Lankan value. In this lesson we are basically talking about the Sri Lankan rupee value with respect to the other countries. This keeps on changing. This keeps on changing due to economic reasons, right? If you go to the net and if you search for the value of 1 rupee in US dollars today, that value will be different tomorrow. The reason is with the days passing by, there's a demand for a currency. If the demand is high, the value will become high because people will somehow get the currencies. But if the demand is low, the currency amount will be low. We don't have to go that deep to the lesson. We are using that under direct proportions, but you do understand the general concept. That is, we are talking about the exchange rate. That means for 1 Sri Lankan rupee or 1 American dollar is how much in Sri Lankan rupees, or 1 sterling pound that is used in European countries. 1 sterling pound is how much in Sri Lankan rupees. That is given to you in the exam, so don't worry. You can't study a perfect value. That will be given to you. Using that relationship, how we are going to do the conversions is what we will learn under this lesson. Right. So let's take example number 1. On a day the exchange rate is rupees 151 for an American dollar. For 1 American dollar, that is we call that USD, United States dollars. For 1 USD, on that particular day, Sri Lankan rupee is going to be 151, right? It's like this. Now, if I have 151 rupees, If I want to convert that into American dollars, when I give 151, I'm going to get only one American dollar on that particular day, right? If I'm going to America, or if I'm going to exchange the country, I'm going to another country especially, and if I want to convert the amount I have into American dollars, if I have 151 rupees with me, when I give it to the exchange person, he will give me only one American dollar. That is the meaning of this. One American dollar or one US dollar is equal to 151 on that day, right? On a day, right? How many Sri Lankan rupees will a person who converts 50 American dollars receive? So if a person is coming from America and he wants to convert his amount into Sri Lankan rupees, how much will he get on that particular day? Which is an easier question. So see, if one American dollar is going to be rupees 151, 50, how much? So there is going to be one American dollar is rupees 151. Then for 50, how much? That is going to be rupees 7,550 rupees. We check the answer, right? For 1 US dollar, if it is going to be 151 rupees, for 50 US dollars, how much you will receive? So for 1, if it is 151, for 50, how much? So if somebody is coming from US and he is giving me 50 American dollars, I can give him back 7,550 if I am in the exchange counter. That is the meaning. Okay. These, like I said, they belong to the direct proportions questions, but you can use the general knowledge on how money is exchanged. So this is the answer for example number 1. Next, example number 2. A person visiting England converted rupees 74,000 into sterling pounds. So he is visiting England. So the Sri Lankan amount he has should be converted to sterling pounds on a day when the exchange rate was 181 for a sterling pound. That means for 1 sterling pound you will get 185. That means rupees 185 will be 1 sterling pound. Right? 181 rupees will be 1 sterling pound. Now the person is going to convert rupees 74,000. Right? I am going to convert 74,000 rupees now. For the 74,000 rupees, my question is, how many sterling pounds did he receive? See, how many sterling pounds did he receive? So now I probably use the algebraic method, but if you want, you can use the ratio method as well, or you can use the unitary method as well, right? So if I use the algebraic method, I will get the answer direct forward. For 181, if I am going to get 1, for 181 rupees, if I am going to get 1 sterling pound, for 74,000 rupees, how much? Okay, so I am going to divide and see. 74,000 divided by 185. Let's multiply and see. If I have 185, if I want to get 7, let's take it as 5. The 5 times 5 is 25. No, that cannot be taken. So we have to take about 6 and see. Right? No, we'll go in like this. So 185 times 1 is 185. So you need to get 74,000. We'll find for 740. So let's take a value of maybe 2, 5, maybe 6 or 4. Let's see 4. 4 times 5 is going to be 20. 4 times 8 will be 32. 32 plus 2 will be 34. Then 4 times 1 will be 4, 5, 6, 7. So yes, that is going to be 4. So 185 times 1, 185 times 4. So that is going to be 400 sterling pounds. 400 sterling pounds. That is the answer I receive. How? For 185 Sri Lankan rupees, the value in sterling pounds is 1. Then I need to check for 74,000 rupees, what is the value of it in sterling pounds. Then what to do for 185, if it is 1 sterling pound, therefore for 74,000, what is the value? So I divide 184 times, I have divided 74,000 by 185. You have to just take a value, do not go to long division methods, use the short division method, get the answer, and then I have received for 74,000, I am going to receive 400 sterling pounds. That is what we consider under foreign currency or under exchange rate. So on direct proportions, it is very simple that when the concept of direct proportions is generally that when one quantity is increasing, the other quantity will also increase, or when one quantity is decreasing, the other quantity will also decrease, right? Under that, we discussed questions under 3 categories, under 3 methods: the unitary method, the algebraic method, and the definition method. I told you the definition method and the algebraic method are important. The definition method is important, the algebraic method is easy. So under that we did questions. Then we came to the foreign currency questions, where we learned how currencies are being exchanged from country to country. That is, what is the value of the currency of this country with respect to another country's currency. So under that we have done questions. So that is the general idea, the general concept that is related to direct proportions. So till I meet you on the next week with the other lesson, that's all from here I have. Thank you, and may God bless you all.